This is day 3 of GDC. I just got back from an after party, so I'm more than a little bit tired, so I want to make this quick. Luckily for me, the talks, I have less of them, and tomorrow I only have 2. So these are going to be mostly about the events and places I see. These should be more vloggy, which should make them shorter. So I'll talk about the talks first. Now, I forgot my notebook here, so I had to buy a new one. I got this Avatar one from the GDC store. I prefer writing by hand. I took some notes by phone. They're fine, but I prefer doing it by hand. Plus, I get this nice journal I could bring back and use for my own work purposes. So, glass half full. So without further ado, just to get this show on the road, reminder of the structure, talks, stuff, conclusion. So the stuff is going to be most of this. As for talks, NVIDIA is doing generative AI. That is the big talk. They already have this when it comes to frame generation, like creating new high-resolution frames or taking low frame rates and upping them. They have frame prediction for that. And stuff like CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077 already uses the tech. So the technology is there. It's already in the ether. The twist on this particular gimmick, though, is that the thing that they're working on now is, just traditional generative AI, the ones that you're thinking of that might scare you. And the way they see it, and the way they argue it for it, is that it will make pipelines for artists faster. It won't really replace them. It's still an artistic process. It's still an artist, which is true of all generative art on a technical sense, right? Because someone still has to make editorial choices about what prompts are picked and what pictures come out and why do you pick one picture over the other. We can debate the actual copyright and ethics of the process further. I have a lot of complaints on my own, speaking personally, about the ethics of how this generative art typically works in the modern day. But they don't really talk about that. They carefully avoid mentioning any of that particular weirdness. So they just keep talking about the pipeline, about the potential it could do, and all the cool, quick things you could make, and then you could edit them and submit them back into a Stable Diffusion pipeline and take your same edited art and use it to generate even more pictures and blah, 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 blah. That's how they frame it. It does make me wonder, because there was a talk earlier that I may have mentioned in one of the vlogs about process, how important process is to the creation of your art. If you want to do something a certain way, you might want to emulate older processes because they bring out certain kinds of challenges. This is a thing that might be a good example of that. I think I could see people in the future, if this really becomes the dominant pipeline for how we make games, we just tell AIs to generate code and art and sound by just saying what we want, and then we edit the results and make more editorial choices. I could see people trying to go in more old-fashioned in other places in order to emulate, to choose a specific process. We already do this in indie development. Like Quadrilateral Cowboy uses the idTech engine when it could use any other engine to make the game. It's making a choice by doing that. I don't know. It certainly demonstrates that NVIDIA sees this as the future. And it's something. I don't really know. You can tell I don't know what to make of it, really. It could go either. I think it could be, but I think it's going to be a mixture of very opening up the doors for a lot of people while shutting the doors commercially for a lot of other people, like in-betweeners. We already have that being threatened in between. with the ability to interpolate frames between keyframes, stuff like that. So hot button issue, that should be its own entire video. That's what the talk was. I won't be able to get any further than that. I'm already spent a lot of time on that one. Luckily for us, the other two talks are pretty similar. So I should be able to do them both basically in one go. One was about cyberpunk's lighting, which basically they were trying to make a physically based path tracing lighting system for their entire open world. To put that in perspective of how difficult that is, we're talking about making it so that all the light sources in a city, a place filled with light sources, organically bounce around, and we trace the path of those light sources that organically bounce around, in a full metropolitan vertical city. So it's ambitious, is what I'm saying. And it becomes clear throughout the talk that while they have very talented people and they do get pretty far with they basically get NVIDIA's help to make the path tracing and ray tracing get even more efficient, more optimized, just better in every single sense, and while also having it be physically based, so you control it based on physical environment parameters of what would actually affect light. They give overrides and controls to artists. It's also clear that it's that mentality that probably was what, speaking from my own opinion speculatively, I suspect this is probably the kind of stuff that would lead to Cyberpunk launching the way it is, because it is clearly ambitious, not just in its level design or the scale, but also in the rendering tech, in ways that they clearly had difficulty managing, because it was a very difficult problem that they were trying to solve. And now they got more time to work on it. You can see them, with the help of NVIDIA, it's coming, their ambitions are coming together and becoming realized. This dovetails into the final talk, which is about ray tracing. Basically, it was about Microsoft has a whole bunch of ray tracing tools for Xbox specifically, and for Unity specifically. So Microsoft talked all about that, about the high definition render pipeline. It's basically the realistic pipeline for graphics in Unity, and about how ray tracing works in there, and the details about how you would do it with Xbox, and how Xbox handles ray tracing, and a whole bunch of new tools they're adding for ray tracing. It's interesting if you care about ray tracing, which is becoming the really big thing, because we are now having the graphical power to pull it off more and more effectively in real time. And you can see it happening in these talks. A lot of the graphics tech, especially these two demonstrate that there is becoming a possibility for ray tracing to become a thing in real time, especially as we can do things like make predictions and fill holes and sample less, and therefore we don't have to shoot as many rays and trace them, and therefore we can run things faster. So it's definitely exciting for lighting. That's what it demonstrates to me. Lighting is becoming, real-time ray tracing is becoming more and more viable, it looks like to me, which is exciting. That's the talks. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of the booths, because this is the first day of the expo. So we get the expo. To sum up my day, after the talks, I explored the booths a little bit. Then I looked on Twitter because I was curious about what Mark Brown was doing, because I saw him earlier, like yesterday. And he said he's doing a meetup. I'm like, oh? So I went over to the park. I saw him. I hung around. I met some people while I was waiting. I met the guy who did the talk about Quaternions. His name is Todd Hamish. I got his business card. In fact, I'll even in here somewhere. I hope I have it. I will be very sad if I don't have his business card. I can't seem to find it. That's unfortunate. Last check. Well, Tahish, I don't have your card. That's a shame. But, anyway, I talked to him more about math. He was cool. He showed me some stuff about to demonstrate, basically reinforce stuff that is mentioned in his talk, more visually, some more, with different little math toys. He got into math because he wanted to make games, and he was told that math would be good for games, and then he just kind of fell in love with math in the process, which is cool. So, oh wait, found his business card. This is his business card. But yeah, I met him in the process. There was a guy who demoed a game for a trailer to Mark Brown, because Mark Brown inspired him to make a game, and he was really excited to have it, which good for him. I feel clearly a lot of people were doing demos, which is cool for them, but I imagine it was also exhausting for. I imagine all of it was a little exhausting for Mark Brown in general. But like, he set the meetup in the first place. That was his choice. That sounds a little mean. I don't like that. But like, it was interesting how. Anyway, sorry. I don't want to really. I was going to go on a tangent I didn't really want. Point is, Mark Brown has met a lot of people, saw a lot of demos, and I talked to him a little bit. I said hi. He was chill. He is trying to do more talks, but keeps meeting people who say hi and give him business cards, like myself, who he then told me, yeah, I have a lot of business cards. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And I'm like, well, I tried. I do not suspect he'll hold on to it. But it's the thought that counts. Anyway, that was actually really cool. I got a picture. Just happy I saw those two. I just thought that was really cool. On top of that, I went to let me put this over in the collection. I went to the CW, Code CW booth. This is the first booth I'm going to talk about. The Code CWA is a union. It's specifically, the CWA is a specific union collective that deals in various deals of tech in general. They have been organizing various different parts of the industry for a while now. They've successfully started unionizing for Activision, like the QA testers. And they had the arcade machines, which were about like how anti-union campaigns look like, and making fun of them. Turns out, something I learned there, because they have a bunch of Pizarro board games, but Pizarro books, like Pathfinder. Pathfinder's unionized. Like the people who make it, made a union. Those people have a union, which was cool, which is why they were there. They were unionized with the CWA. And it's clear their presence here is kind of like, both to get people to unionize, but also they will do things like, they went over to Sony's booth, apparently, and they tried to pressure, they're trying to pressure Sony to stay neutral on unions and not shut them down. So they're doing a little bit of organizing too. really interesting. I need to do. I've heard various points of view about unions, both positive and negative. So I have this weird, kind of obnoxious, centrist thing with unions, which currently I think I'm leaning more positive than negative. It looks like unionization might take off more. I hope it goes well. I hope it ends up being a boon for the industry overall. I need to do more research. They have a thing where they have this QR code where you can learn more about unions. So if you're interested, scan it and pause the video, scan that QR code, and learn yourself. Form an opinion that is more informed than me. I do know some union history though, which is a video unto itself. Fun fact: the AFL was a racist union, and the CIO was the not racist one. Then they converged, and that's fun. Yay! Yeah, that's a bit sad, but it's what it is. The 20s, the 1920s. I went to the Quebec booth. I met a guy there who was a marketing person, and he talked about basically helping. He's not a publisher. He just helps game market. That's it. That's like very specific. So it's not quite a publisher. But they were based out of Quebec, and I talked to him a little bit about Quebec and working in games there. If you're a U.S. citizen, you would have to get a work visa to work there, which would probably put you probably would be less likely to be picked, is my guess. He didn't say that, but I'm guessing that. Still might be worth it. I think I might, it's worth thinking about because there's a lot of companies up there, so that might be actually something worth looking into. While I also went to Alt Control. Alt Control was great. Alt Control had a game called Heist 98. One person's a security guard. One person's a thief. The thief has these 3 big buttons. 2 are tank control rotations where you rotate like this. And then the front button you slam a bunch of times to like scoot them forward. Meanwhile, the doors can be in this museum can be open and closed by a security guard of saying open and close into a mic, and then they can switch cameras which control the doors and the camera, which not control the camera, but like they have a camera that moves autonomously, and if you're at a camera, that's the door that's going to open and close. So you have to switch cameras, tell them to open and close, and that way you can track people in, and that's how you win the game. It's quite fun to be both, honestly. They have very fun ways of interacting. Very, very fun game, very solid game overall. One game you play with a toaster. They wired a toaster as a controller and you play it. It looks really cool. I didn't get to try it. I might try it tomorrow. I also went to a speed networking event where I got some cool business cards. I met someone named Dominique, who is a narrative designer, and if I ever find someone looking for a narrative designer, I know who to refer. I'm remembering that. I also, like I said earlier, I went to, I think it's called GGP. I think like Gay Gamers something. It's a gay bar nightclub night. So because it's free, and if you know anything actually about like gay nightclubs specifically, they tend to be more mixed anyway in terms of straight and gay. Though when I went to a nightclub, it had more like more explicit, like not super explicit content, but some explicit content, more erotic content that was more gay, more queer oriented. This isn't there at all. It's a professional event sponsored by a whole bunch of companies. So it's just like this mixture of gay, like it's like a gay event, which like was intended for gay people, but then there's also a bunch of straight people just showed up, and so they're just kind of hanging out in the same space, which I found kind of funny. It was fun. I didn't do a lot of socializing. I was really tired, but I did get like one business card from that event. This really good one. You can see it. He did the illustration himself. He went to IGF, which apparently was good. He enjoyed it, which is good. Good for him. He went to this party because he was tired too, but he's like, well, I gotta support the gays, which I appreciate. I found that amusing and I can relate to. So, here are my business cards that I found. So we have this one. We have this one, which is like a 90s video, like a 90s situation. This was one from the Quebec Games, the marketing person. This is not a card I picked up from the IGDA booth, which had this really cool game board, which you can play a bunch of digital board games. And they have even a tactile element where you can add you can create tactile augments that you can place on the digital board and they'll react and stuff and pair them up, which is cool. Oh, sorry about the radiator again. But and then we have Sam, the writer. Okay. I'm glad I went to the event, to the party, even though I didn't really dance or do much. I'm not really a dancing person, which is might be wondering, why did you go to a party if you're not going to dance? I just kind of people watched and hung out. Just like existing in the space was just kind of weirdly zen, despite the loud music. So while I might have been bored in points, I was actually kind of just having a good time. I got to listen in on some conversations that were cool and interact and meet some cool people at that event. So I still met people, I still socialized. I just didn't do a lot. But I believe that's all of the interesting stuff. I'm looking at. I think actually I got some random. Oh yeah. This was a mouse pad, and this is from the CWA one, and this is apparently actual anti-union campaigning done by Activision. Like, this was some emails that were sent around, and this is what they said. Which is very interesting. Not interesting, it's funny. It's funny and stupid on Activision's part. Yeah, so my summary of this day today, it was good. There were bits with the expo where I wasn't really sure what to do because I was kind of overwhelmed, and so I ended up finding a speed networking event, and I think that was the best call. When in doubt, find a speed networking event. I haven't even explored all of the expo fully, like been to all the booths and really sat there and tried to interact with someone. There's a whole Web3 section that I've avoided and don't want to go near because I don't want anything to do with it. That's going to stay that way. the goal for tomorrow is I want to see if I can hang out with more people again. Like from the Discord, from the IGA club. Specifically Sean, I believe, who's also here. So I want to see if I can make that happen. I think that would be fun. I hope I can maybe get Sam involved. That would be fun. My schedule's pretty flexible, mainly so I can do more expo booth stuff. We'll see how that goes. I might end up just be bored and need to figure out any ways to fill in bits. So if I'm really that bored, there are 2 parties I actually could go to. I might. We'll see how I feel. I'm keeping my schedule intentionally flexible so I can accommodate doing more spontaneous stuff. I hope it goes well. Hopefully it goes well. But I think it'll be fun. And I think this was productive. I think I had a productive day overall. And my collection is growing too. As you can see, the collection is growing, which is good. There's some stuff I can't show you because it's on my phone, but I have technically more from the speed networking event because I took pictures. And I think I'm going to go decompress, watch some YouTube videos, and then go to sleep. So, see you tomorrow. Goodbye and good night.